This is the whip lesson right here. I have various kinds of whips here that I'm going to be demonstrating. And so why don't we start out with the small one here, which I believe is the black one. This is my daughter's whip. This right here, this and the brown one are show whips. So if you go to the Renaissance Festival, these are the type of whips that they're doing, except they're doing much bigger ones. All right, so when you were cracking the whip, it's all about the pivot point. So basically the pivot point is your elbow right here. You keep this straight so we have a really long moment arm, and then it's a back motion and then forward. We have a really long moment arm, and it's a trade-off between two things here. We've got a longer moment arm, which means that we have a greater moment of inertia, which means it requires more torque in order to rotate it, but also a longer moment arm, if you think about V equals omega R, that with R being greater, you get a higher speed right there. And so we have this trade-off here. All right, so let's try this again out here. So I was just demonstrating with the show whip here. I might actually see better lighting here. There we go. And let's see, I'm not quite sure how far away I need to be in order to do this right. All right, that time right there, I just smacked my hand. If I do this long enough, I'm going to end up with red marks all over my hand. So this properly should be wearing head protection too. But I have been doing this long enough, and so far the cuts have healed. I have cut my ear. There is a certain danger to this, but it's still young enough that I heal. Oh, you're okay. Well, I'm going to be editing.
Yeah, that's what I figure. I mean,
all the times I hit myself.
Wah 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 wah.
All right, so again, this is a show whip. This is the smallest one. As I'm swinging it around, I start with a tip back here, usually, especially when I'm beginning. Depends on how cocky I'm feeling. I bring it up, and basically the tip is traveling in an arc like this, and I want to crack it when it's back there. I want to come forward when the tip is back there. Now, at least that's what I'm picturing in my head. Another one for the compilation. Now, it doesn't require a lot of effort. Speed will offset. This got tied up here. Just give me a second here.
It is on.
All right, and there was a break there, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to be edited in the end. But basically, the tip got tied up on itself because, well, this thing's going really fast. We got basically a ripple in it, and when it comes back, sometimes the tip will come back through the loop that it just created.
How fast is it traveling, George?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So what you, in essence, you're trying to do is break the speed of sound. So as the wave is traveling down, actually I didn't get into physics yet, this is just more of a demonstration phase. So as we talk about the physics of it, we talked a little bit in another part of the video about the fact that you're creating a torque, and by holding out like this, you have a longer moment arm. So when the speed is traveling down the wave, as you no doubt already know or have seen the video or will see the video because you'll be so intrigued, is that the speed of the wave, the square root of the tension divided by the linear density. So linear density, mass divided by length. So as you look at this right here, you have a certain amount of mass in that length right there. And as you proceed, it gets thinner and thinner. And because it's getting thinner and thinner, our linear density is going down. The amount of mass in this stretch of rope here is less than that in hopefully the same length in that stretch of rope. So as the linear density drops, from a math point of view, the denominator is getting smaller, and therefore the speed will increase. What we want is the speed of the wave by the time it gets to the tip here. We want the speed of the wave to be going at least half the speed of sound. The tip, at that point, when we hit the free end, the tip then shoots from down here to up here. The speed of the tip is going to be twice that of the wave right before the tip, and so that's when we break the sound barrier. So you can hear it does make sound. It is pushing air out of the way. Let's see if we can hear the sound here. I'm not breaking the sound barrier here. All you have to do is have that something traveling through the air. It is pushing air out of the way, and all we need to do is be traveling faster than the speed of sound, push so air can't quite get out of the way fast enough, and we get this buildup of compression waves. So one more on this, and then we'll start moving to the heavier whips. All right, so now when we go to the heavier whip.
Is that one Tiamat's?
Yes, this one is Tiamat's. So this is a heavier one right here. This one is mine, but again, we have the same tapering off as you've seen before. The timing's a little bit different. So usually when I go from that one to this one, if I go directly to it, my timing's a little bit off and I'm more apt to hit myself. So this might be one more for the blooper reel. Apparently not. So we can still break the sound barrier without a whole lot of effort. Now, greater speed on my part, bringing my arm down a little bit faster, can offset some bad technique, but I have cracked it in the classroom before, just sort of goofing around. So it's a very small one right there. So good technique, which occasionally I do. And that was sort of messing up on the technique there. Let's see how much more I can do here. We get another low impact right there.
Can you do a double? Messing up on the front there. All right, I'm not going to last much longer because it is cold.
All right, let's try the double and then we'll hit the heavier whips.
Hey, relax your face. You look like you're trying too hard. You got to look cool, George.
Ow. All right.
I am so cold.
This is a leather whip that, this is the one I learned on when I was teaching middle school. Potentially just coincidence, but
Oh, that one's falling apart.
that's been like this for a long time.
The difference is that's a bull whip versus a stock whip,
Okay.
I think. I might
Also-
can fix that.
This is not a show whip. It takes a little bit of different effort to it. And also you can see it's sort of hanging like that. Generally you want to whip it so that the part where it dangles naturally is in that direction. I mean, is down when you're starting. And then the loudest one is this one right here.
Where'd that one come from?
You bought it.
Okay,
I assume whips and knots, but I don't know.
I can look at it and tell.
We got this one and the brown and that brown leather one at the same time. Now this time it's a little bit different. Definitely don't go from the small black one to this one in one shot. Once I cracked a whip, it was a while before I could get this one to crack. Now it takes it out of me. All right, so now there's the Indiana Jones over the head kind of thing. It's a very similar type of whip. Whipping, it's still a matter of having it in one direction and then doubling back. Just now you're doing it with the head, so like that. And part of that mistiming is because I went from the really heavy one, and also we lost the tip. So why don't I go to the heavy one with this? Sort of, so coming around like this, and then doubling back. Try not to hit myself.
How long is that whip? Nice.
And my arm is tiring out. So there is one whip that I did not talk about last time. This is actually a training whip. This is not a bull whip or anything like that. It's not really meant to break the sound barrier. This was a donation from a student whose arm's basically twice the size of mine and all muscle. He could get it to pop. I have days where it works and days where it doesn't. So we'll just see how it works. You're not doing this type of motion. You're just, if you do that, you're just knocking stuff out of the trees and just moving the air. So to get this one to pop, we do have a much longer moment arm here. So we should be able to get some nice torque, except for the fact that we have a much larger moment of inertia, and therefore we're not going to get quite the same acceleration. So this one is an up and down motion. Today's just not one of those days where that's going to work particularly well. Anyway, that's the other type of whip that I just didn't mention before.